2021, and I am just south of Casper, Wyoming. There's a waterfall right there. I didn't want to get too close to it so that you could hear me. And the water is actually flowing just about 4 feet away from me down this creek and then on down to the wherever it goes. I guess another river probably. I am up about, I don't know, 6,200 feet, so it's over a mile high. And I found this place actually last night as I'm driving from Billings, Montana down to Denver, doing some ministry at the Marriott on the west side in Golden, Colorado, west side of Denver, this Saturday night at 7 p.m. So anyway, it's been, over a week since I last did a live teaching. I know a couple people have reached out and said, hey, where have you been? Well, I've been on vacation, been enjoying myself in the Great West, and primarily in Montana and Wyoming, and got to go visit Yellowstone National Park. I think it's my 4th time that I visited Yellowstone. Hello to Cindy Senkak Andrade from California. I see you on here, and I think probably Tina Marie Kirkpatrick will be popping on here as well. But got to spend a day, July the 5th actually, at Yellowstone, and saw a lot of bison, saw some elk, and at the very end, as I was leaving, going north, out of the park, I saw some bear, some black bear that were in the distance. That's always fun for me to see some bear. And then got to do some whitewater rafting down Stillwater, and that flowed into Yellowstone's river. And so that was fun. Hadn't been rafting for many years, and had our guide, she was from Chico, California, and was very familiar with Bernie, California, because that was where her ex-boyfriend had been, was out of Bernie, and got to share with her as well as a couple of other people on the raft about our ministry at Restored to Freedom. And they were very, very interested. They agreed with everything that we had talked about, and about how these spirits affect people, and how 85% of relationships, you have one person that's more controlling and dominant, wants their way all the time, more prideful, that get involved with people that are more giving and more tolerant. Also got to go on a horseback tour. Had not done any horseback riding for a while, and to my shock, they actually took us through a creek that was really deep, to the point that you had to lift your feet out of the stirrups in order to keep your feet dry. And we went through the creek twice. The first time is hard enough because you're going downhill into it, and the horse wants to drink water, so you don't want to fall forward off your horse. And then once it drinks the water, then it starts to make its way through the water, and then up the other side. And we went up on top of this mountain, and they actually had a fire that's been burning for a couple of weeks that was set off by a guy that was on a motorbike that apparently spilled some gas and then tried to start it, and the spark from a spark plug lit up the gas, and then it's burned like, I think, almost 30,000 acres. They said it's going to burn until August, until we get some rain. So anyway, they took horseback riding and came back through that creek in a different place. And again, I got my feet actually wet. It was that high going through it. So it's always fun. Excuse me, I need to get a drink of water. Always fun to have some fun on vacation. Of course, I have fun going anywhere and everywhere doing ministry. I actually did the horseback riding in Red Lodge, Montana, if you're familiar with Red Lodge. That's southwest of Billings. We got to eat at a local restaurant there for lunch afterwards, and just good times. Enjoyed it. And then this past weekend was in Billings, Montana at the Everlasting Covenant Congregation with Pastor Steve, and the Lord did some amazing things there. In fact, one of the most amazing things was, this church is a messianic church, so they teach a lot of the things that, like the traditions and celebrations and so forth, that the Jewish people of the Lord's day had taught. So you'll understand the deeper meanings that go beyond what the modern day Christians teach in church. And it's always great to have that extra understanding, because there's a lot of things that happen, a lot of things that are done that we don't understand. as a Christian. So really, really enjoyed my time with Steve. And on Saturday morning, he surprised me by giving me his prayer shawl. And the prayer shawl is what they wear. It wraps around their neck and it hangs down in two different areas on the front of the person. And he said that he had never been led by the Lord to ever give his prayer shawl to anyone. And he's had it for, I don't know, a long time. And so he gave that to me, and that was just an honor. That basically the anointing that goes with that also would typically transfer on to that person. And so I was surprised about that. Well, then there was a guy that came in to the church about an hour into my speaking, and Steve ended up going back and talking to him. And then after I was done, Steve explained that this gentleman was spoken to by the Lord and was told to give Steve a new prayer shawl. So out of nowhere, he shows up and gives this prayer shawl to Steve, not knowing that Steve had given his prayer shawl to me. So how cool is that, when within an hour after Steve had given up his prayer shawl, he received a brand new one. So that is just amazing. And the people that were there was several people from the Crow Nation, the Crow Native American Nation that were there, and really, really neat. Very, very cool. I'm going to have some personal sessions set up with them, and it was just a very special time. And then, get this, there was a girl that came actually from California, which is a pretty far distance. And then there's also a couple that drove from Minneapolis, Minnesota to Billings, Montana. And they have 6 kids. 6 kids that are 9 years of age and under. Got to meet the kids. They were wonderful, came up and hugged me. And they said that they watch my broadcasts. So they may be watching this, I don't know, right now. So hello to the Newman family from Minneapolis. Got to spend some time with their the mom and the dad yesterday. Just had a great time. And again, they have a 9-year-old. They have, I think it's a 6-year-old, 5-year-old. They have twin girls, and then another son that is, I don't know, probably, maybe a year-old, year and a half, something like that. So anyway, wonderful time there. Had a great time. Got to have lunch again with Pastor Steve and his wife Evelyn. And their teachings go very, very deep in understanding things that the average church does not teach. So the combination between, helping people get healed and delivered, which is what Restored to Freedom does, and his church is very, very powerful. There's a lot of churches that can learn a lot from those who are messianic. So, all right, the Breakthrough Tour continues this year, 2021, from July through November at this point. I've got scheduled this coming Saturday, July the 17th, at the Denver Marriott West, which is west of Denver, in Golden, Colorado. That's at 7 p.m. Looking forward to that. Be the first time I've ever done ministry in Denver. July 24th, first time I've ever done ministry at this church in Omaha, Nebraska, called Empowered Family Church. So I'm looking forward to that. That's next Saturday, July the 24th. And then July 31st, the following Saturday, I'll be in Fort Atkinson, Iowa, in One Accord Ministry. I've been there a couple of times. And then on August 1st, I'll be in Decorah, Iowa, at the Christian Life Center. It'll be the first time I've ever been there. And then August 7th, coming back to Minneapolis, Minnesota, at the Minneapolis Marriott West. I've been there once before, last year in August. And then August 21st, coming to Chicago. I love Chicago. That's been the greatest turnouts of all of my Marriott events that I've done in the last 12 months. We had to add more seats the first time we did it. We had a lot of people there. It was packed. And then I came back there again last year in, I think it was November. And again, we had a great turnout. It was just blow my mind. So August 21st, Chicago Marriott, Naperville, Illinois. And then September 25th, Greenville, South Carolina, Faith Family Church. Been there a couple of times. And then November 5th and 6th, should find out this week where the venue is going to be at, but it's going to be in Waco, Texas. on a Friday night and a Saturday night. So, topic of the day is the 4 deliverance blockers. What would block a person from being delivered? Again, the church, unfortunately, has done a very poor job, very bad job, teaching us about deliverance. They basically have, in many churches, have said that if you are a Christian, you can't have demons, and that's completely wrong. The majority of Christians deal with demonic spirits. How do you know? Well, you know it because they don't have much fruit of the Spirit, and they have a lot of fruit of the flesh. So if they get angry a lot, if they get mad, they get jealous, they curse, they have sexual stuff they're doing that is not pure, that means that they're under the influence of demonic spirits, because people that are truly set free and healed and delivered wouldn't do that. They wouldn't have a desire to do that kind of stuff. So that's why we see, 50% divorce rate in the church, or maybe even greater than that. That's why we see about 70% of pastors that struggle with looking at pornography and masturbation. It's not good. So what are the 4 deliverance blockers? Number 1 is not being honest with our behavior. So again, you're going to have an inner voice. Again, we get thoughts from 3 different places: ourselves, the Lord, the Holy Spirit, and demons. Now, a lot of people hear demons and they think it's their own thought. The demons act like they're best friends, that they want to protect them. That there's people that are prophetic that hear demons and think that everything that they hear is from the Lord, when in many cases it's not. So your inner voice of demons will tell you that what you do is right, they'll justify it, and everyone who is in opposition to you is wrong. It then allows pride, which is that spirit of Leviathan in Job 41, to puff you up. Again, many church people refuse to be honest about their behaviors. They want to hide and protect some of the deep darkness and sinful things that they say and that they do behind closed doors. I get messages from people all the time, especially from pastors' wives, saying, "Please help me. My husband, the pastor, is abusing me behind closed doors, and I don't like it, and I'm tired of it, and I'm not going to tolerate it anymore. And everybody in the church thinks he's the greatest guy ever." And that's the way that it is. That's the way the demons work. Again, demons affect women and men equally. And it's a matter of, let's get ourselves cleaned up, healed, delivered, so that when Christ returns, we'll be on our way to heaven. There's a lot of people that aren't, that think that they are. But the Lord, what does He do? He looks at the heart, He looks at our mind, and He looks at the fruit. The fruit, if we don't have a lot of fruit of the Spirit, we have a lot of fruit of the flesh. Galatians 5:16-26 says we're not going to inherit the kingdom of God. So if you have a lot of sexual stuff that you're doing that is impure, if you've got a lot of anger, a lot of bitterness, a lot of wrath, jealousy, striving, if that's your regular mode of operation, it says you're not going to inherit the kingdom of God. So most people are used to believing the lies that the demons have been telling them their whole life, and it causes them to feel better, to think that they are good and those who don't agree with them are bad. But you must fight through that temptation of lies to look at yourself in the mirror of truth. So what do? How do you do that? Just say, "Lord, show me. Show me. Is there anything in me that is not of you? Because I want it gone." And you got to be honest. It's really, really frustrating when, and I've dealt with this, when you have a person you're married to who is abusing you over and over and over again, and you tolerate it, you put up with it. Finally, oftentimes you say, enough is enough. I'm not going to tolerate this anymore. Sometimes it may be, 10 years into it, 15 years, 20 years. Some people go their entire life tolerating those demons. I remember the Lord finally told me, "Who are you going to serve, the demons in your spouse or me?" And I'm like, "Well, I got to serve you, because if I serve the demons in my spouse, then I can't do anything for God." And that's the truth. So oftentimes it may take you to either stand up to those demons in the person that's struggling with them, and maybe even separating and saying, "Listen, I got to get out of this because it's too toxic. You're killing me slowly by your words." And so when you separate, it gives them a chance to look in the mirror at themselves and be honest. Many times that person, though, won't. They will just lie to other people, get them to feel sorry for them, get them to look at them as a victim when they're really a bully and they're a liar. And most people, when they hear someone speak to them about another person, and they're speaking, well, this person does this, this, and this, you want to believe what they're saying is true. But in many cases, those that struggle with the spirit of Jezebel are not being honest. They're lying, and they believe the demons that have been speaking to them their whole lives. They believe their false narrative. So then they sell that to other people, and then what does that do? That causes their demons to be happy because now they have other people that agree with them and support them. So, if you're not going to be honest with your behavior, you're not going to get delivered. And again, that's one of the 4 blockers, one of the 4 reasons why people don't get delivered. Number 2 is pride. So people who have a lot of pride, which you get pride because you get hurt. So a lot of people that have been hurt and wounded when they're younger, the spirit of pride, which is Leviathan spirit, Job 41, will start to speak to them. And they'll tell them, you know what, you couldn't trust your dad because he hurt you. So therefore, you better protect yourself from other people who will try to hurt you. And so what your goal is to not be hurt again. And so those demonic spirits will lie to you and tell you things about other people and tell you that you're right, and everything that you hear from that demonic spirit is telling you truth, and it's set up to protect you, when in reality it's not. It's protecting itself and allowing it to stay within you because of the pride. So what does the Bible say about prideful people? Proverbs 6:16 through 19 says, "These 6 things the Lord hates, yes, 7 are an abomination to him. A proud look." So people that have a proud look, the Lord hates that. It's an abomination to him. And he goes on, says a lying tongue. So again, people that have pride will lie. And these are all basically descriptors of people that have that spirit of Jezebel and Leviathan, people that have been hurt. Hands that shed innocent blood. Naboth in the Bible got killed because why? Ahab wanted his vineyard to turn into a vegetable garden, so Jezebel made it happen by lying about him and having other people believe the lies and then killing him. So there's a lot of people that have lost their lives, that have died because they were going to tell the truth. There's a lot of people that are exposing things now, deep, dark secrets on people that are involved in evil organizations, sex trafficking, satanic ritual abuse, and they end up losing their lives. Well, you could maybe not lose your life, but you may be speaking the truth about another person within the church, and they will do everything they can to come against your reputation and lie about you, and lie and lie and lie and turn people against you. Then you walk into the church and you have all these negative, dirty stares from people that are believing lies that you don't even know what have been spoken about you. And the Lord hates that. And those people that do that, they will have consequences eventually. The Lord will not tolerate that forever. And I know it's not fun going through, walking into a church, walking into a family reunion or whatever, where people are believing lies that someone else has told you. But that's what people with demons do. They lie, and they lie, and they lie. And they believe their lies as being the truth. It goes on and says, again, hands that shed innocent blood, a heart that devises wicked plans, feet that are swift in running to evil, a false witness who speaks lies, and one who sows discord among brethren. So people that have demonic spirits are going to behave that way, and they're going to be in the church. Pride means basically, I don't need God. I've got it. I don't need you. James 4:6 says, but he gives more grace. Therefore, he says, God resists the proud, but gives grace to the humble. So if we don't humble ourselves before the Lord, we're not going to get delivered. James 4:10, humble yourselves in the sight of the Lord, and he will lift you up. Proverbs 29:23, a man's pride will bring him low, but the humble in spirit will retain honor. So how do you know if you have an issue of pride? These are some of the symptoms of pride, so you can tell. Number 1, you assume that you already know something when someone is teaching you. When you immediately tune out someone who starts to teach you something that you may be somewhat familiar with, that is an example of pride. It is the assumption that you know everything about the subject being communicated, and that this person, whom you see as inferior in knowledge to you, cannot teach you something new. Number 2, seeing yourself as too good to perform certain tasks. When someone asks you to do something and your immediate thought is, I, of all people, should not have to do that. That task is for someone else. Then that's a sign of pride that we should consider dealing with. Number 3, being too proud to ask for help. Now, there are times in life when we must all admit that something's beyond our capacity, that we need help. People that have pride, those demons, will cause them to think that they know everything about every subject. And it's ridiculous. When you're around people that act like that, you're like, wait a minute, you don't know anything about whatever, spaceships going up to outer space, and they'll act like they know everything about it. People that have pride are very insecure in reality, but they try to overcompensate by acting like they know everything. It's annoying being around them too. Number 4, when you have a lot of pride, you feel the need to consistently teach people things. Have you ever been in a group where someone feels the need to dominate the conversation and seemingly spill everything that they know without giving other people the opportunity to share? Sometimes this can be a sign of pride, because when a person knows something that they know most other people don't know much about, it creates a sense of pride within them. Isn't it interesting too about the homosexual agenda? They talk about pride. Pride is a bad thing. It got Lucifer kicked out of heaven. He became Satan. The Lord will resist the proud, and it makes it very, very hard for a person that has pride to get into heaven. So it's not a good thing to have pride. Number 5, when you talk about yourself a lot, when you talk about your accomplishments, your education, your title, your position, your financial status, that's a sign of pride. So a lot of people love their titles in the church. They call themselves, I'm a prophet. I'm a prophet. Oh, I have to struggle so much. I have to intercede for everybody. Da-da-da-da-da. It's all based in pride, and the Lord's not impressed with that. A lot of people love to call themselves whatever, a prophet, a prophetess. They call themselves a pastor. What did Jesus call himself? He didn't call himself anything. It's interesting that those that were the Pharisees and the scribes, they had a lot of pride, and the Lord was not impressed. The Lord looks at the heart, looks at the mind, and he knows if we've got a lot of pride and arrogance. Pride will also cost you a lot of money too, because you have to live up to an image that you want other people to look at you at. Number 6, pride, thinking you're better than others who are different or less fortunate. Number 7, when you disregard the advice of others. This has its root in thinking that you have all the answers, which is what the demons are telling you. You know everything. You don't need to know about this. Before we had talking GPS, a lot of times people wouldn't ask for directions because of their pride. They would end up being late for meetings. And now they have talking GPS, and it makes it much easier. Number 8, when you're consistently critical. See a lot of people that are critical, criticize everybody. They put down everybody. If a person's in the church, they think they know everything, and then they'll put down and they'll critique everyone. Oh, that person, I'm not going to be friends with them because they wear too many nice clothes. I'm not going to be friends with that person because they are, maybe they're more intelligent than the person, so they end up feeling insecure. So they'll put them down and criticize. Or if a person's really attractive, they'll put and say lies about them, be negative about them, because maybe that person's not as attractive, or maybe they don't work out and the other person does, so they'll put them down for working out. It's just ridiculous. It's because of their insecurity. All right, number 9, consistent need for attention and affirmation. When someone constantly needs to be the center of attention in public, or secretly craves consistent affirmation for their accomplishments, their looks, their personality, serving, their works that they do, their intelligence, their physique, then this is a sign of pride. 10, when you're unable to receive constructive criticism. Again, people that are in the church that are having positions in the church, they will not want to receive any type of constructive criticism. They'll just turn the other, just ignore them and basically say, oftentimes come against the person's character and either lie about them and try to manipulate and turn people against them. They believe that they're never wrong and everyone else is. Number 11, when a person's overly obsessed with their physical appearance. Now you may also be in the other case where you have a false humility and you try to make yourself look, I don't know, not attractive on purpose. And then you tell other people, well, gee, you're judging them if they, put on any makeup whatsoever, or if they're a woman, or if they're a guy and they put on, I don't know, nice smelling cologne. In fact, it's funny, the other day I went to do rafting, and this guy was helping me with my vest, and he said, hey, you smell good. Thank you for putting on deodorant this morning. I'm like, sure, great. Whatever I can do to not smell stinky. So, number 12, when you're unwilling to submit to authority. When a person's unwilling to submit to authority at work, at church, at home, or any other relationship, it's because deep within the person, they believe that they could make better decisions than the person that God has placed over them. So they submit outwardly, but inwardly they struggle to accept the subordinate position. And I'll say this too, and I went through this, and I know of other people that have gone through this, is if you are called to do a certain ministry, you may have to submit to someone who has demonic spirits. That's very prideful and very arrogant. And you know that they're wrong in most everything that they're doing. But the Lord has assigned you for a season to submit to them. Oftentimes it's to learn about the demonic spirits within them so that you can help other people later in life. But I had to go through that, where this person was extremely off in their thinking, very controlling, very manipulative. This is before I started ministering, because you really can't do that once you have a ministry. You can't submit to another person that's got demons, because if you do, you will not have a ministry. The demons will destroy it. So, but you may have to submit to a person that you know is off in their thinking, and you're like, oh my gosh, Lord, how long do I have to put up with this and tolerate that? All right, number 13, ignoring people's attempts to communicate with you. And when you consistently blow off people who text or email you, you are essentially minimizing the importance of that person and their communication. Now, I understand there may be some people that have the Jezebel spirit. They're trying to annoy you, trying to pull you into senseless, wasted times of conversations or accusations. And then, yes, you need to block them and don't waste your time. But if you have a person that's genuinely trying to get help, then you should respond to them at least. All right, number 14, when you justify your sin instead of admitting it. Now, let's say that you are in the church and you think it's okay to watch movies that have cuss words in them, that have nudity in them, and you justify it. Nope, wrong. That's not good. If you're justifying sin in any way, then that gives the legal rights of the demons to torment you. That is basically making an idol before the Lord. And that's a very dangerous place to be in. Number 15, people that have a lot of pride like to name drop. So when you consistently associate yourself with people who have prominent positions and publicly drop it in conversations in hopes that people will think that you're equally as important as the people you associate yourself with, this is a very subtle form of pride. Number 16, when you're on a different timetable than others. So then you consistently show up late for calls or meetings because you believe your time is more valuable than others. Number 17, pride causes you to get angry easily. If anyone questions your intentions, your motives, or statements, you will get angry quickly with people. You go off on them. Trigger. Why? Because you have unhealed soul wounds. You have demons. If you trigger and get angry easily, it's ridiculous for a Christian to strive. 2 Timothy 2, 23, 24. It's ridiculous. A servant of the Lord must not strive, but be gentle in all their ways. Can you see the waterfall right there as the water's falling? that's behind me about, I don't know, 200 feet, decided to get in front of it away so that you could hear me, because if I got too close to it, you couldn't. All right, number 18. If your inner circle of people consists of yes men and women who agree with everything you say and do, even though the ideas that you express or your behaviors are wrong. You know, it's hard to confront a person. If you confront them in love, and they're a wise man or woman, they will listen to what you say. But if they're not wise and they're prideful, and you confront them in love, they will not receive it. You know, there's a lot of people, again, in the church, have lots of demons, are very prideful, very arrogant. And if you come up to them and say, listen, you need to humble yourself before the Lord, you need to go through deliverance because you've got demons, they'll oftentimes scoff at you, laugh at you, mock at you, get angry, rage, and they basically manifest their demons. All right, 19. Do you think of yourself as more spiritual than others in your church? And like, well, I fast every day for 2 hours. And sometimes I fast for weeks and months and years. You know, I pray in tongues for hours. And oh my goodness, I would never think about putting on makeup. I would never think about exercising. I would never think about, all these things that are religious, then that's disgusting before the Lord. So it's a religious spirit that they need deliverance from. Number 20, do you have a touchy, sensitive spirit, easily offended, getting your feelings hurt easily? That's pride. 21, do you avoid participating in certain events for fear of being embarrassed or looking foolish because you know that you won't win or look good? 22, do you avoid being around certain people because you feel inferior compared to them? You don't feel like you measure up. 23, when is the last time you said these words to a family member, friend, or coworker? I am sorry for what I did to hurt you. I was wrong. Will you please forgive me? And if it's been more than a month, you probably are prideful. 24, do you react to rules? Do you have a hard time being told what to do? 25, do you worry about what others think of you? Too concerned about your reputation or your family's reputation to admit the truth? And then 26, you always must maybe drive, the latest car or live in the nicest area. So you extend yourself financially. That's oftentimes pride that drives all that. So, okay, number three deliverance blocker is unforgiveness. Again, this could take people months or years to get to the point to where they truly forgive all people who have hurt them, who have wounded them. That's why deliverance can take a long time. If you've been hurt and wounded a lot growing up by your father, by your mother, by your stepfather, by your stepmother, if you've had sexual things done to you, then the demons have been working on you a long time, telling you to be angry, to say, oh my gosh, I'm so mad at them, I'm so angry at them, and then you end up manifesting on people of today, the present, and it's based upon the unforgiveness. That's why when I take a person through inner healing and deliverance, I always have the Lord come to speak to them about the people that hurt them. And when the Lord shows them that those people were also hurt, and they had demons, and that's why they behaved the way that they did, and they can see those people from the Lord's eyes and the Lord's perspective, then guess what? They can forgive them. And that takes away the legal rights of the demons. So that may cause people, if a person's hurt you a long time, especially those in the church, you got a person that mentored you for years, and then they start to control you, manipulate you, lie about you, betray you, it may take you a little while to forgive. Especially if the Lord's taken you into that relationship. I had to go through a relationship with, it was a guy that he was a complete liar, but I went through the relationship and found out after about 3 or 4 months, I think it was 4 months into it, that he was a complete liar, charlatan, who wasted my time. And the Lord took me into that relationship. And I'm like, Lord, why didn't you warn me about this guy? And he told me, he said, because there's going to be other people trying to come into your ministry that you cannot trust. And you have to see what it looks like. He said, you can read all you want about this in books, but if you don't experience it and have the experiential taste of it, it's really hard to discern. So oftentimes, if you have a very strong anointing for a ministry, whether it be deliverance, whether it be healing, the Lord will take you through experiences where you will know that you know that you know what that spirit looks like in other people. You may have to be married to a person that's going to abuse you, and it may go on for years. And then you end up learning about it firsthand. And when you learn about it, now you know, now you can see it, now you can teach it. You can help other people. And if I did not go through what I went through, I wouldn't know what I'm talking about. You know, if I had not gone through what I had experienced, I would have no clue. And the Lord took me through several Jezebel experiences and some witchcraft experiences with people. So now I can teach it. So I can help other people. We're helping, again, thousands, tens of thousands around the world. And I believe the ministry will continue to grow to millions of people before Christ returns. Why? Because there's a lot of people in the church who need healing, who need deliverance, and it's resonating. I mean, my gosh, I had a person this weekend that came to the meeting, and he said, oh my gosh, because this is so real. Spiritual warfare is so real. And even the pastor, Steve, said that, you know, what we do at Restorative Freedom is we do the how to do it, how to get the people from church where they are cleansed from their soul wounds and healed and delivered so they can truly be real Christians and followers of Christ and have the fruit of the Spirit to show. Because if you don't have the fruit of the Spirit to show, and you're being mean and lying and sexually impure, you're not getting into heaven. A lot of people are like that. So anyway, unforgiveness. It's important also not to keep relationships with toxic, demonic people that are mean, because they will continue to say things and do things to hurt you so that you can't forgive. And if I'm around a person that all they do is criticize me, put me down, you know, judgmental, negative, it's going to allow me to hear their voice and their words over and over again. And then the demons tack on to that. So it is what it is, and it's not good to be around people, obviously, that are toxic, that are hurting us. But we got to forgive. Have to forgive everyone. And how do you do that? Ask the Lord to come to show you those people from His perspective. And when He does, and you can see them from His perspective, you can forgive. Doesn't mean that you should be around them. If they're not delivered, in many cases, you better pull away from them and say, listen, I'm not going to get reinfected by your demons. You know, if you're not going to pursue inner healing and deliverance, then I'm not going to have anything to do with you. All right, the number 4 deliverance blocker is unrepentance for your own sin. So again, a lot of people are prideful, they're arrogant, and they're not willing to humble themselves, not willing to repent for their sins. They make idols before the Lord, such as sex, such as masturbation, such as perversion, drugs, smoking, vaping, secular, music, bad movies. There's very few movies that you can watch. You know, today, you know, even 20 years ago, I remember, you know, I'm a different person than I was 20 years ago, but there was a movie called Stand By Me that I ended up going across and walking on that bridge where the train came across, and Corey Feldman's in the movie, and River Phoenix, I think. And I hadn't seen the movie for a while, like 20 years ago, whatever, maybe 30 years ago. Yeah, well, longer than that. I was about probably 13 or 14, so it was like 40 years ago. And so I ended up watching it because I was there, this is a year ago, and they had cuss words throughout the whole movie, and it grieved my spirit. You know, so if you're watching movies that have cuss words, that have nudity, that are not of the Lord, it will have an impact on you. So we have to make sure that we end up feeding ourselves with good things. You know, if you're cussing on a regular basis, if you're, same thing applies for, you know, if you're eating. Oftentimes people eat foods that are unhealthy for them, and they end up, you know, struggling with weight issues, struggling with energy, to be able to walk, to be able to exercise. And it's interesting, when I went through my healing and deliverance, I love to exercise. I have so much energy every day. I can't wait. It's so fun to get up and go work out and then go for a walk later in the day, go for a hike, go to the mountains. You know, I love the mountains. So anyways, in fact, I can show you. Let me pull this up here. You can look behind me. There's a creek running behind me. And there's a bridge in front of me with some people walking on it. So I just love coming to places that are beautiful, that are peaceful. I'm getting ready to go to Colorado later today. We'll be there for probably close to 2 weeks, and then moving on to the Midwest in Omaha, Nebraska. But everywhere I go, I carry peace with me, and joy, and love. It's funny, I go out to places to eat and go to grocery stores and stuff, and occasionally people will ask me, how are you? And I always say, I'm awesome. I am so excited. Ah, I can't wait. And they're like, wow, I want what you've got. And they do, you know, and there's some people that respond back and are like very happy back. They're like, yeah, me too. Well, there's a lot of people that are very sad. Why? Because they're hearing negative thoughts from people that have hurt them and wounded them, and they have not forgiven them yet. So when we don't forgive, the demons have legal rights to torment thoughts, remind us of all those bad things. So anyways, all right, well, I gotta run. Time to go. I'm gonna drive about 6 hours to get down to just west of Denver, and I will let you guys go. So love you, and see you guys on YouTube and Facebook. All right.